Welcome to the True Wealth Investors Real Estate Podcast. Creative investing strategies to help you build true wealth. I'm your host, Chad Harris. Hello, everybody. If you are interested in buying rental properties, generating cash flow, and creating generational wealth, you are in the right place. And today we are talking about something that is super hot in this market. We are talking about what exactly is a short sale? How do you handle that process? How do you make the massive profits that our guest is going to talk about today in these deals? Because everything in the current real estate market is pushing towards short sale and creating a lot of opportunity. So make sure you stick all the way to the end. There's going to be a lot of gold nuggets here, a lot of great content from our guests. So welcome, David Randolph. Good to see you again, as always.
Yeah, good to see you, Chad. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to your tribe of people.
Yeah. So we have known each other for quite a few years. I don't know, 3 or 4 years, I bet. And in different masterminds, and always enjoy hearing about what you're doing. And short sales are not that's not what I've directed or gotten my leads from. And every time I hear one of your stories, I'm like, man, that is fascinating. I've got to hear more about how that works. So, I'm really glad that we were able to schedule this time, yeah, so that I can hear about it as well as everybody listening. So, and I love the website, The David Randolph, too. I being from Ohio, I'm an Ohio State fan, and so we always say the Ohio State University as well. I like that. So, yeah, so just real quick before we dive into what a short sale is, how it works, just tell a little bit about your story and your investing background.
Yeah, sure, Chad. In St. Louis, Missouri here. I'll just give my little 2-minute speech you give at the RIA group meetings you go to where you break into groups and meet each other and introduce each other. And so I'll just kind of repeat that kind of thing I do live, and just basically, hi, my name's David Randolph. I rehab about 5 to 10 houses a year. One of my claims to fame is that all my renovated houses listed on the MLS, 265,000 and less, all those houses have sold in 7 days or less, Atlas price or higher for now 16 years, Chad. So now I can say 16 instead of 15, right? Okay. And so basically, I have an unfair advantage, okay, that I'm making. Now, this is me personally. I'm making $50,000 to $150,000 gross profit on each house. So it's real easy, Chad, to sell them quickly. Then I go on to kind of tell them, and so how do I do that, right? And so that is through the method of what's called short sale. I buy my houses as a short sale for 15 years. These are not on the MLS, Chad. These are not with a real estate agent. These are working directly with the homeowner and working with the homeowner and then negotiating with the bank to help keep them out of foreclosure and to be able to buy that house that they don't want anymore. I'm also then a hard money lender, so I became a hard money lender. I've got 3.5 million in cash in my IRAs, in my retirement accounts. Now, I can't use it for me, so what I do is I lend it out to other investors, to other rehabbers. And my heart, Chad, is to help new people get started. I give them the money to buy, the money to fix, I give them the money for the points, and I give them the money for the monthly interest payments. They need $0, no money at all, no credit check. Then about 5 years ago, people that we know, okay, said to me, David, you need to teach others how to do short sales. That's amazing what you're doing. So actually, Chad, I've been teaching others all across the country how to do short sales with my method and stuff. And so that's my little 2, 3, 4 minute introduction thing about who I am. Basically, I've been doing this 15 years. And Chad, a short sale is just a way to buy houses. That's all it is. It's great for landlords because you want to buy a house. Landlords actually have an advantage, right? Okay. See, rehabbers don't. Rehabbers, I don't want to get the certain groups pissed at us here, but
Oh no, you
but
go ahead. Those rehabbers, they
yeah.
don't know anything.
Um,
Real wealth is built by owning rentals. We all
Exactly. No,
know
think
that.
about it. Oh, they're idiots. Okay. Now listen. Here's why. Because they're buying the house, they're fixing it up, and they're selling it, and so they've got all these cost figures that they've got to figure in. A real estate commission, and then a much higher cost to fix it. Landlords are smart. Okay, they can buy a house, do a minimal fix up, keep the dadgum thing, and so they don't have to sell it. They don't have to pay for utilities. They don't have to do any of this other mumbo jumbo stuff. And so they can actually
100%.
offer more for a house competing against a rehabber guy because their cost structure is much worse. Anyway, my point is short sale is just one method of buying houses. It's great for landlords because now you can really cash flow. I mean, imagine this house I bought for $29,600 and sold it for $275. Would you like to rent that out to a tenant? It's I call it slum landlord housing, prices at, full rental, mid level rental. You can buy your slum house for 29,000. That's a 3 bedroom, 2,400 square foot home. Rent it for 2,500 a month. You bought it for 29,600. You
Well,
know?
that's interesting because, well, a couple of things hit me. One, you've been doing this 16 years now, right? So you've
Mm.
been through the market cycle. You've seen the hot market, you've seen the down market, and this model works, right? All of those. You've been doing it continually. And right now, a lot of people, the struggle with getting a rental that provides cash flow is values are high. And rents have not quite risen as fast as the price. And so, in a lot of markets, it's hard to get that house for a price where, with financing, you can cash flow on the rent. This seems like a good solution to that because you're getting that house that has a high value, but you're getting it at a seriously discounted price.
Exactly. Your rent is high, middle income area, and you're buying the house at your slum landlord house prices in like the city of St. Louis, but they're not that, kind of a house. They're a full-blown 3 bedroom, two-car garage with a basement, like I said, I sold it for 275, right? And so, but I only paid 29.6. So that is huge, and your monthly cash flow because you paid very little for the house.
So I mean, if people are not reselling these houses and they're keeping them in their portfolio, one, they're going to be able to pull out a lot of money if they do a cash out refinance, or if they want to leave the equity in there, they're going to create massive amounts of equity by buying at such a low price, right?
Exactly. They can do either one. I mean, and you can teach it different ways. There's a certain level where, you're safe to pull out the equity because you can use it to buy other rentals, right?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so there's, the burst strategy, and there's a lot of good techniques in that, but you want to get that refinance number out of it really large, that you can get back,
Yeah.
from the bank.
Okay. So for people who are like, that sounds amazing. I'm in. I want to buy the house that's worth 250 for 29,000. Yeah, I'm sold. Give us a real clear definition. What is a short sale, right? What does that mean? And then on the other side, or after that, why on earth would a seller or the bank sell the house for 29,000 if it's worth 250? Those are the two answers I know everybody's got in the back of their mind at this
Yeah,
stage.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little simple background definition, a short sale in the real estate industry is where the bank has a loan on a property with a residential homeowner, right? Just a normal home loan. The homeowner then loses their job, divorce, or other issues, and they cannot make their house payment. And so at some point, the bank will foreclose and take the house back and then own the house and kick the family out. And so in a short sale, what happens is you step in and will help that family stop the foreclosure date, and then you negotiate with the bank to say to the bank, look, you guys are idiots. You lent this money, the house isn't worth what he owes on it. What's he going to do? He can't sell it. Okay. And so therefore, it's going to foreclosure. Mr. Bank, you got to take less money for your loan. You got to knock it down. The loan on that one was $196,000 and the bank took 29,600. So the short sale is where the bank is going to accept an offer from you to buy the house, for less than what's owed on the property. That is what a short sale is. Okay, so that's that first
Which,
definition there
yeah,
to
that's
understand.
and conceptually. So one topic I talk about a lot is that any good business is based on helping other people, serving other people. And the more people we serve, the bigger our business grows. It's not that we're convincing someone to do something that wouldn't be in their best interests, right? And so I like your explanation of a short sale because you have a seller with a problem. They're going to lose their house to foreclosure. They don't want a foreclosure and ideally don't want to move out of the house. You also have a bank with a problem where the debt that they own on that house or the money they've lent on that house is more than the value of the house. And they don't want to foreclose, right? They have a seller that or a homeowner that's not paying. They don't want to foreclose either. And you're kind of stepping in the middle there and helping solve both of their problems.
Yeah, and the key, I think, Chad, to differentiate what I've done for 15 years is I'm stepping in, you're stepping in as the buyer and the negotiator with the bank. This is not on the MLS, not through a real estate agent. You are stepping in, you found the homeowner, you're helping them stay in their house, then you're bringing in the realtor on your team onto the deal to execute it. This is not houses listed on the MLS that you try to do a short sale on with some random agent. I do it. I don't want to say that I do it backwards. Everyone else does it backwards, but I'm doing it where basically I'm helping the homeowner out with that. And so that's exactly how, one of the things that you do with that.
Okay, so and I think we kind of answered why, but we know the seller who's the homeowner, we know why they sell the house at a discount because they don't have any equity anyway, right? They owe more to the bank than the house is worth. So really they have nothing to lose from it. The bank, however, has this on their balance sheet as an asset of debt with a high value. And why would they then take that low price? Why would, if they have an asset, this mortgage of 196,000, why would they sell it for 29?
Chad, this is going to totally blow your mind,
I'm
okay?
ready. I'm ready. Hit
This
me.
is unbelievable. The banks are giant companies, right, with policies, federal regulations. They're professionally run and stuff. And so they have in their manual, their company operating manual, they have a whole chapter that says this one simple thing that says that a short sale is better than the bank foreclosing. So if they're putting out foreclosure notices to do the foreclosure, and someone like you and I step in and say, wait a minute, we can offer a short sale offer to you, the bank says, well, that's better than the foreclosure because their manuals say that, okay? So when I bought it for $29,600, they thought that would be much more than they would get if they foreclosed on the property because their policy says that. Okay, so that's exactly why the banks do it.
Interesting.
Yes, exactly why they do it. There's
And I
many,
could,
many, many other reasons, but that is actually one of the
right.
policy statements. Investigate short sale before foreclosure.
Ah,
Yes.
right. So that is their business model, right? If you
Yeah.
have a borrower in default before foreclosure, pursue a short sale. That's the better alternative. And for them, that means they don't have to go through the court process. don't have the risk of not knowing what they'll eventually get for the house once they foreclose on it and take possession, right? The bank is not in the business of owning properties. They're just in the business of lending. So I like that. I like the simplicity, and it sounds like part of your negotiation is not only appealing to what they want, they prioritize a short sale over a foreclosure, but is some of the negotiation with them kind of the fear of the unknown? You don't know what you'll get for the house in the end. I'm offering this guaranteed price or guaranteed offer.
Exactly.
Perfect. So I know for everybody listening, they probably are saying, okay, that makes sense, why they would do it, why the homeowner, seller would do it, why the bank would do it. How on earth, let's say we're sending out marketing, or we just bump into somebody in a neighborhood we're buying and we realize that they are underwater, they owe more than the house is worth. How do you even start that process of calling up the bank and saying, hey, I want to purchase this property that is in pre-foreclosure?
It's really, really super simple. All you need is this blank ATR authorization form filled out and sent into the bank. And you can talk to the bank every day you want. You can, ask them questions about the loan. You can negotiate the whole process with the bank by having an authorization form. And since you know that the homeowner wants to get rid of the house, you can initiate with the bank the whole short sale paperwork and the process that takes place. So it's the authorization form, okay, that you have signed by the seller that lets you talk to the bank on their behalf.
Interesting. Okay, and so as long as you have that form signed, that basically makes you the representative of the seller negotiating on their behalf. So, all right, for me, I know this is getting very basic, right? And you're very used to this process. But let's say I'm talking to the seller. They obviously are in a desperate situation. They have no problem signing the form. I've got the form signed. I know the loan is with Fifth Third Bank. Do I walk into the local branch and say, "Hey, I'm speaking for this seller," or how do I actually interact with this large corporation?
It's super simple. You have the authorization form that is yours, signed by the seller, and then they have a monthly statement from their mortgage company with all the contact info on it. Well, at the top right or top left is the 1-800 number of their bank. So you call the number up and you say, "Hey, I need to send in an authorization form." Now, if you want to sound really experienced, you can say, "Hey, I want to send in an ATR form, what is the email address or fax number to send it to?" It's that simple. Just call that,
Really?
get the number, and then boom, send it in. Now, let me ask you, which one do you think you want to get from the bank? The fax number or the email address to send it to? There's usually both choices, but which one do you think is best to get from the bank? The email
I
address or the
would
fax number?
I would probably go email. That seems person specific.
Bingo. No, bingo. Yeah, no, you're
Okay.
right. Yeah, a lot of people get it wrong. I'm surprised. And here's why. On email, you can then later on send in things like color pictures of the house. On a fax number,
Mhm.
it's like just a piece of paper that goes zip, zip, zip. And where do they
Yeah.
go to? Email, you get the correspondence back and forth. So, yes, you're exactly right. You want to
Nice.
email that authorization form to the bank because then you can give them other stuff later.
And then I guess you also have a paper trail or a record of
Yeah, so oh
communication
yeah.
back and
Oh yeah,
forth, and it
exactly.
makes everything easier.
Yeah, yeah, it's all in your inbox.
And is it hard? Let's say you submit the form. Is it hard? Do they automatically then respond, or how do you know who the person is that you actually make an offer to or do that negotiation with?
Yeah, that's the hard part because the banks just are not very organized. So they have a customer service department and then they've got a loss mitigation department. And it's very hard to talk to loss mitigation. So you always start through the customer service department because they're there to help the borrower with any question. And so that's where you start is calling the customer service and saying, hey, look, they've been missing payments here, and they can't sell the house to pay off the debt. So they need to do a short sale. Please send me the RMA, the request for mortgage assistance form. Please email me your standard PDF file so I can just fill it out. And it's a box right on there. I want to sell the house. That is a short sale. And that's the easy
Hmm.
process you do on the phone with that bank representative. Um,
And so once you get that form filled out that you want assistance or you want to sell the house, that's how you actually get the bank responding, focused towards that eventual short sale.
Yes, but I teach it a little bit differently than most other investors might already be doing today. I get the form that is the request for mortgage assistance, and it just, there's a lot of stuff to it. It's 6 pages. They have to qualify for the short sale. They have to give them bank statements and pay stubs, and there's a lot to it. But then when you check that box that I want to sell the house, okay, then you're able to, and this is what I do that might be different than other investors, is I don't just turn that form in because then they're going to send out some real estate agent, to the house. So I don't send the form in until I have all the realtor documents filled out, have the offer, have the repair estimate, have the CMA and a bunch of other stuff, that we don't have time to talk about in a package of about 40 pages. And then that all goes to the bank at one time. Okay, that way the bank isn't trying to send out a real estate agent to list the house. No, no, I've got my own agent. We're already on top of it. So you get that form from them, fill it out, but then give them all this other stuff with it when you submit it. That's a key thing that I teach people to do all across the country. Short sales are federal. They're identical in every state. Every state they're identical.
Interesting. That's kind of fascinating too, because it's one of those, right, where you almost need to understand the rules to know how to bend the rules, right? Understand how that bank's going to interact with the request to know how to get ahead of it and already present yourself so that you have much better odds of that offer being accepted. I
Well,
like that.
here's the good news, though, Chad. The banks are federal, they are regulated, and there is an institution or a government body called the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So they came out in 2020, okay, where you remember that was that COVID-17, COVID-19. What was that? We had that
I know.
COVID thing.
What was that
Was
again?
that again? Yeah. But that came out, CFPB came out then and set 212-page PDF file of regulations of how to handle non-performing loans. And so that process is really all you're doing is making the bank follow it. Okay. And so it's really simple. The banks have to respond to you. They have to do certain steps. And when you know what they are, it becomes, quite honestly, quite easy. Okay. When you know the steps.
So I imagine it's not a real emotional negotiation with a bank. If you give a low ball
No.
offer, you're not going to anger them. They're not going to slam the door on you. What's that like?
No, exactly right. I don't know if I can get a little personal here, but my wife and I originally started doing this, to help families out of a crisis. To just be honest with you, we just thought we could lead them to Jesus Christ. Okay, back in 2009, we could step in, stop the bad banks from taking their homes, and then give them more time in it and help them start their life over. But it turned out in a short sale process, you really aren't working with the homeowner, the seller, very much at all, because once you get authorized and you get their bank statements, then it's all you and the bank. We actually had a better chance to lead the bank to Jesus Christ than we did the homeowner because you're talking to the bank more often. And so yeah, it's they're just following their policies. And when you know what the steps are, when you know how to make it look like a duck and quack like a duck, it's short sales are easy, easy peasy.
that's really interesting because you would think, well, it's more difficult to negotiate with this large corporation. Um, but I can see that it's unemotional.
Exactly.
It's one small loan in a portfolio of how many loans, right? The numbers matter much less to them than they do to us as the investor or the seller. So it seems like it would be easier on almost every front.
Yeah, you're right, Chad. You're exactly right.
So, are there, I guess, one more question? We can't, I know you can't explain this process, and you could do days and days of training on how to be successful in it. But before you go through the process of just initiating contact with the bank, are there things you look for with that seller to make sure they'll qualify for a short sale?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, the homeowner, here's the first thing I want to let everybody know. Um, for all the investors, right? We're all investors listening to you. You're teaching and training investors all across the country. I want to talk to those people and say, hey, look, these homeowners got themselves in trouble. Okay. It's not your fault they got in trouble. You're going to step in and try to help them. And so even if you fail to help them, it's not your fault. They screwed up their own financial life to begin with. So stepping in and trying to help them isn't going to do anything worse than it being foreclosed on anyway. So that's the first thing that I want to try to
Mhm.
say about that is, and then after that, really, is, finding out the type of loan that they have and if they've done a loan modification. That's like one of the key things in the beginning, to do, because if it's FHA, then you have to actually do a loan modification attempt first before you do the short sale. Okay, and so
Okay.
the different loan types have a little bit different, rules to do, which, once you know them, it's really simple. You know that and you know that kind of thing. But basically, you're trying to prevent a foreclosure date for the family, whether they have one right now today or they're about to have one in a couple months. Your assistance in both cases is going to be vital, to them. And so you're really so what I teach people on the simple level is actually to target those with a foreclosure date. It's public knowledge. By law, it must be public knowledge. A foreclosure is a declaration in the legal newspaper for 21, 30 days, X number of days in the county legal newspaper that it's going to be at the courthouse steps. And so very easy. You don't even have to pay people to give you those names and addresses. It's public information, right? And so
Yeah.
that's how you're reaching out to people to stop that foreclosure date and keep them in the house and let them save their money up while you're negotiating the short sale.
Does the initiation of the short sale delay the foreclosure process, or do you have that tight window to complete the process?
Yeah, so the short sale process can take 3 months, 6 months. I went on 9 months on one because the kids were in high school and wanted to graduate. But 3 months, 6 months time frame on it, and so you're going to get them. You're going to stop the foreclosure date and then negotiate with the bank and give them that 3 to 6 months in the house. Okay, so you're
Okay.
stopping a foreclosure. You're not trying to do a short sale in 21 days. People misunderstand that. All you're doing when they have a foreclosure date is presenting the purchase sale contract, and then the bank will usually stop the foreclosure date to look at it and say, okay, we got a buyer. Whoa, shut down, pause. Let's take a look at this, right? So they're going to postpone or stop the foreclosure date. That's what you do in the very beginning, is to get that stopped so that you can then, negotiate. And so that's really the initial process. It's really pretty simple.
Sure. Yeah, so you need that window and that urgency for the process to start. If it's, if they've missed one payment, then the bank's not that interested, right? If it's not close to that foreclosure, then the motivation isn't there, probably on either party, but
You,
definitely not on the
you
bank
got, oh,
side.
absolutely, Chad. You got it right. I mean, look, first of all, you can't do a short sale unless they have missed one house payment. So you can't even do one unless they missed it. Now there's an exception if your corporation moved you more than 50 miles, but in general, you can't even do it unless they have missed a payment. However, the homeowner is in financial distress. They're often not making the smartest decisions. And so until they see the foreclosure notice, they're just going to continue on with life. So that's why I do target those in public notice with helping them out because they are going to lose it in 30 days or 21 days in most states. And now Illinois, Florida, judicial states, it's maybe 60 or 90 days. But in either case, the as I call it, the fat lady is singing finally. I mean, all the
The end
process
is
and all the
near. Yeah,
letters have been coming to you for months or years, even in judicial states. And so now the fat lady's about to sing. And so here's the process I teach you to do in that to stop it and then negotiate it and be able to buy the house for literally pennies on the dollar.
that's awesome. Yeah. I love this conversation. I love the concept and even just your perspective of how you're helping people and stepping in and trying to solve the problem for them before it's bad for the seller and bad for the bank, right? You really are serving both entities. So
Exactly.
perfect. For somebody who says this is really exciting, I want to know more about the process. What's the best way for them to do that?
Well, I do have a website that can find out more information. The website is thedavidrandolph.com. And the reason for that is somebody took davidrandolph.com and I was heartbroken, right? Wouldn't you be heartbroken, Chad, if
Of
someone took
course.
you? Yeah. And so I'm all upset. But then someone said to me, hey, wait, aren't you the David Randolph? I'm like, oh, yeah, GoDaddy. Give me thedavidrandolph.com. So you can go there and get a lot more information. I also have a monthly 2 hour short sale workshop. And so for all your viewing audience, they get free attendance in that. And so if they text the word intro, intro, then to my phone number at 636-685-2990. That'll send you a Zoom link and you can get in on the next monthly 2 hour short sale workshop where I have 2 hours to talk about all of how this works. Okay, a whole big introduction to the process. We just covered a little bit. We didn't even talk about negotiating with the bank at all, right? And
That's
so,
right.
and
I'm sure we
so,
could do a deep dive into a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
bunch of
Oh
aspects
my gosh,
there.
yeah. So anyway, that would be a way, and for them, it's completely free. Is to go to the show notes down there or whatever. We can maybe even give you a link to it, and just get it on that. I do it every single month. And so your entire audience can get in. There's it doesn't cost anything. I don't even sell you anything on it, Chad. A good friend of mine, said, well, it's free to get in, but it costs you to get out. No, I'm not even selling anything on that, so to speak. But, do be aware that I have taught people all across the country this process and it works well. My students, this is kind of embarrassing, but my students are doing better than me, on it. Like Kevin in
It's a
Pennsylvania
good
just
testimony.
recently bought one that blew my mind. We don't have time to talk about it, but yeah, no, intro to 636-685-2990.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And we'll definitely have it in the show notes and the descriptions. I encourage you to reach out and you'll get, I mean, David has brought a ton of information in this short amount of time, and I know he will deliver in those 2 hours. And David, thank you for coming on. Always enjoy seeing you and talking shop, talking business, or just hanging out, joking around. So good to see you again. Thanks.
Thank you, Chad.
All right, and everybody, please make sure you like, follow, subscribe, leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. That always helps more people find out about us and this show. And our key concern is helping more people be successful in real estate. All right, we will see you next week, as always. And until then, keep building your dream life one door at a time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. A lot of people recognize that they need to raise money from everyday private lenders, but they feel a little intimidated about it. And one of things that I hear time and time again is that, well, that's great, but I just don't know the right people, right? I'm just not in contact with people with a lot of money and they're willing to lend that money on my deals. And that's a belief that a lot of people have. And so I want to help you make sure you recognize in your network who are those potential private lenders, or if you're truly not in those circles, if you're not around the right people, I want you to know where to go find those potential private lenders. All right. So if you want to be able to find private lenders, I have a free resource for you. You can just go to truewealthinvestors.com/find lenders. We'll give you 37 places to find your potential private lender. And maybe not all of them work for you. You know, you might not really like all 37, but there's going to be a handful that are perfect for you, that fit, so that you can get the private lender, start that relationship, have that discussion, and get your deal funded. Purchase, rehab, closing costs, everything. All right. So go to truewealthinvestors.com/find lenders and you'll get that great resource. All right. Thanks. We are adding new episodes every week, so make sure and subscribe and check out all of our content at truewealthinvestors.com.